A thick, swirling mist hung heavy over the Sunken Fen, obscuring gnarled cypress trees that dripped with moss. The only sound was the gentle lapping of murky water against unseen shores, punctuated by the occasional unsettling croak of an unseen creature. Deep within the ethereal shroud, in a small, moss-laden clearing, Kesh the lizard-folk druid meticulously arranged bone fetishes around a patch of luminescent fungi. A soft, almost inaudible hum emanated from a gourd at his side, resonating with the ancient rhythms of the fen. Kesh's guttural whispers to the fungi were deliberate, ancient, a sacred dialogue with the living land. His movements were slow, precise, each gesture a testament to his deep reverence for nature's delicate balance. Suddenly, the ethereal calm shattered. Nilo, a fast-talking halfling sorcerer on the run, burst into the clearing, stumbling over roots and gasping for breath. The faint sounds of pursuit, muffled by the mist, faded behind him. His chaotic entry disrupted Kesh's ritual, sending bone fetishes skittering across the moss. The chaotic energy emanating from deeper within the fen intensified, mirroring Nilo's own wild magic. The fungi around Kesh glowed erratically, their soft, luminescent flickering like a dying flame, and the gourd at Kesh's side vibrated violently, a frantic pulse against the druid's scaled hide. Nilo, catching his breath, flashed a disarming grin at the stoic lizard folk, a practice masked for his racing heart. "Pleasant spot you got here, friend," his eyes darting around the clearing, assessing escape routes, even as curiosity pricked at him. Though perhaps a touch on the damp side for my refined tastes. He noticed the pulsating fungi and the vibrating gourd, a familiar chaotic hum resonating within him. Kesh, unblinking, rose to his full height, his gaze unwavering, taking in the disheveled halfling.
"Balance is disturbed. You bring chaos, outsider."
The air between them crackled, not just with the fen's agitated magic, but with the stark contrast of their very beings. Before Nilo could offer a charming retort, the gnarled roots at the edge of the clearing began to stir. Agitated twig blights, their eyes glowing with an unnatural, warped luminescence, shambled into view, their twig-like limbs twitching menacingly. Their appearance was a direct consequence of the fen's magical unrest drawn to the intensifying chaos. Nilo, ever the pragmatist, immediately conjured a shimmering illusion of a thorny bush, hoping to deter the blights. "Looks like we've got company. Stay behind me, old man. I've got this." He projected the illusion with a flourish, but the blights, fueled by the raw magic saturating the fen, merely swiped at the apparition, their warped forms unfazed. Kesh, with a guttural growl, moved with surprising speed, his staff tipped with a gleaming sliver of bone, striking the ground. Roots erupted from the earth, coiling around the blights and crushing their brittle forms. He moved with the precision of nature itself, his magic an extension of the fen's raw power.
"Illusions are weak. Nature is strength."
A shattered twig blight, impaled on a root, yielded a fragment of warped crystal, pulsing with faint chaotic energy. As Kesh crushed another blight, a rough, water-stained map fell from its grasp, landing near Nilo's feet. The map, though crude, clearly depicted the Sunken Fen, with a prominent X marked at its very heart, labeled Witch's Circle. The initial tension between them began to dissipate, replaced by a grudging respect born of shared danger. Nilo, pocketing the warped crystal, nodded towards the map. "Looks like we're both in for a wilder ride than anticipated, lizard friend. And you handle yourself surprisingly well for someone who talks to plants." The immediate danger of the twig blights quelled, for now. Nilo unfolded the crude map, tracing the lines with his skeptical finger.
Right then. So Witch's Circle, eh? Sounds like a lovely place for a picnic. Or more likely, a trap.
He gestured vaguely into the mist, where several faint diverging paths could be discerned.
Which way, old wise one? Or do we just pick the one that's least likely to swallow us whole?
Kesh, stoic as ever, stepped closer, his gaze fixed on the map. His fingers, scaled and surprisingly delicate, pointed to a swirling symbol near the X.
Ley lines. Paths of raw energy. Corrupted here. Humming. Unstable. Leads to source.
He looked at Nilo, his unblinking eyes conveying a depth of understanding the halfling rarely encountered.
Balance. Broken. Fen. Sick.
Nilo, though wary of Kesh's somber pronouncements, felt a strange pull towards the volatile energy Kesh described. The chaotic hum that permeated the fen resonated within him, a wild, untamed echo of his own unpredictable magic. Raw energy, you say? Sounds interesting. Full of potential, wouldn't you agree? All that untamed power, just waiting for someone with the right touch. Looks like our little map points to the biggest source of that sickness of yours, Kesh. Guess we're going that way then, whether we like it or not. A flicker of shared, albeit unspoken agreement passed between them. They would follow the map towards the Witch's Circle. Deeper into the fen, the mist grew denser, coiling around ancient trees like spectral serpents. The paths narrowed, choked by thick, grasping vines that seemed to wither with unseen life. Their tendrils brushing against Nilo's face, a phantom touch that sent shivers down his spine. Subtle illusions flickered at the periphery of their vision, fleeting images of glowing eyes or shimmering paths that dissolved into murky water when approached. Right. This is where my particular band of mischief comes in handy. He deftly used his sleight of hand to part a particularly stubborn curtain of vines, revealing a hidden passage. See? A little finesse goes a long way. Then, with a whispered incantation, he conjured a minor illusion of a shimmering, inviting path leading off to the left, while subtly nudging Kesh towards the true, less obvious route to the right. This way, druid. Looks less varny. Kesh, however, merely grunted, his keen senses not so easily deceived. He ignored the illusion, his hands brushing against the gnarled root.
Nature speaks.
His eyes scanning the patterns of the moss and the faint scent of disturbed earth.
Illusions lie.
He moved with an innate understanding of the marsh, navigating around unseen hazards that Nilo almost blundered into. Nilo found himself relying on Kesh's primal instincts, a strange realization for the self-reliant halfling. The air grew heavy with the scent of damp earth and something acrid, almost metallic, a subtle hint of the corrupting magic. The fen opened into a wider, more treacherous expanse, a deceptive stretch of bog where the ground shimmered with unseen magic. The earth itself seemed to shift and heave beneath their feet, making each step a perilous gamble. Hidden pits magically concealed by illusions dotted the landscape, their murky depths promising a swift and watery grave. Hold on, Kesh. Nilo pointed to a patch of seemingly solid ground that rippled faintly. That looks less than stable. Despite his warning, a sudden tremor ran through the bog, and the ground beneath Nilo's foot gave way with a sickening squelch. He plunged downwards, a yelp escaping from his lips, his arm flailing for purchase. Before he could disappear beneath the mire, Kesh lunged, his reflexes honed by a lifetime spent in the untamed wilds. A scaled hand clamped around Nilo's wrist, his grip surprisingly strong. With a powerful heave, Kesh pulled the sputtering halfling back to solid ground, mud clinging to Nilo's clothes.
Careless,
Kesh stated, his voice devoid of judgment, merely an observation. Nilo, wiping mud from his face, looked at the lizard folk, a flash of genuine surprise and gratitude in his eyes.
Well, that was invigorating. Thanks, Cash. You're a surprisingly good bodyguard for a tree hugger.
The shared moment of vulnerability, of reliance, deepened the unspoken trust between them. The air here was thick with the scent of decay and raw magic, the humidity clinging to their skin like a shroud. As they pressed onward, the oppressive mist that had veiled the fen began to thin, parting like a curtain before them. The air crackled with a palpable energy, a thrumming that vibrated in their bones. Then, with a dramatic flourish, the last wisps of fog dissipated, revealing the heart of the witch's circle. Before them lay a sight both terrifying and awe-inspiring. A swirling vortex of raw, unbridled wild magic churned above an ancient, moss-covered standing stone. The stone, once a stoic sentinel of the fen, now pulsed with the chaotic energy, cracked and bleeding pure magical essence like raw, unrefined lightning. The sound was a low roar, a cacophony of arcane power. Warped crystals identical to those on the twig blights littered the ground around the stone, shimmering with faint, unstable light. Kesh's humming gourd vibrated violently, its gentle thrum now a frantic, urgent pulse, guiding them towards the nexus. The rough map they had found was eerily accurate, pointing directly to this chaotic heart. Nilo felt a surge of raw power, a familiar echo of his own unpredictable magic, yet amplified 1,000-fold. It wasn't just similar, it felt like home. The wild energy tugged at his very core, an almost irresistible urge to reach out and embrace the tempest. He felt a sudden, fleeting image flash in his mind, a shadowy figure, cloaked and masked, standing before a similar, less intense vortex of energy, a silent beckoning. The air was charged with ozone and the earthy scent of ancient stone, but beneath it, an almost sweet, heady aroma of pure, raw magic. This was part 1 of this amazing adventure. I hope you'll join me soon for part 2. Thank you, and until next time, traveler.